My boyfriend is disgusted at me for my habits and wants me to change them. Am I being too difficult? So me and my boyfriend are dating for a little over 5 months. He recently kinda moved in, not officially, and we haven't exactly talked about it, but most of his stuff is at my place and some is in storage. He sleeps most nights at my place and I just found out he gave up his former flat. He is a more quiet person, so learning things about him a bit late isn't really new. I don't mind most of the time. He is generally very sweet to me, just not talkative at all, even about things you would think he would least mention, asked Jave. Anyway, ever since he is with me most days he became kind of weirdly judgmental about little things. Like he got very annoyed at me for leaving my wet toothbrush cup upside down on the sink to dry instead of towel drying it first. Not wearing socks in my slippers, humming, getting the mail in my pajamas. It's mostly just small stuff and I just change my ways because I don't care enough about them to get into arguments. About 10 days ago he was with me when I was eating breakfast. He usually leaves before that, and he got really disgusted at me when I put tomato paste on my bread. Like full on disgusted, pulling faces, and he got really angry when I took a bite while he was telling me how disturbing eating tomato paste just like that is, on whole wheat bread that is. He kept turning his face away like I was eating a live rat or something. At the moment I thought it was almost funny just because of how super silly it is to get angry about, I guess. Like it's just tomato paste. I know it's not that common to eat on bread, but it's something I did since I was small. My family was super poor and I just kinda stuck to it. It's no big deal, I think. He dropped that whole thing after and we haven't had breakfast together since. Last Friday though we went to a wildlife park with my boyfriend's colleague/friend and his wife. I packed for both of us, so I took water and made some sandwiches, turkey ones for him and for me, packed separately and wrapped in plastic so he would get any on his, mine which were just plain whole wheat with butter and tomato paste folded over. His co-worker's wife saw me eating it and asked what it was, I guess because of the color. My boyfriend got kinda startled, looked at my stupid snack and proclaimed awkwardly loud that it's just a Jell-O sandwich. It was very obviously not Jell-O and like it was so weird. I didn't want to make a thing of it, so I just nodded along, even though it was very obvious that it wasn't true, and his co-worker's wife looked so confused. My boyfriend asked me to come with him right after that and he got really mad at me for embarrassing him in front of his colleague. I got a bit annoyed too because I felt like he was talking down to me and I couldn't figure out why, so I asked him what the big deal is. He told me that I eat like an animal or a homeless person and that eating non-sweet foods, in general, is manly and disgusting for a woman. I didn't know where that was coming from, but he went on to tell me that he couldn't believe that I was trying so hard to embarrass him that much and why I couldn't just drop it. I told him sorry and I didn't finish my sandwich. Now I don't really know what to do. I think it's stupid to get that worked up about tomato paste, and my diet overall. But on the other hand, it's not like I can't live without tomato paste on my bread, and I really don't want him to be ashamed of me. I'm just kind of worried that he will be just that even if I quit all the little things that he doesn't like about me. Comment. He gave up his flat without talking to you first. Basically moved in without asking and has the audacity to critique you about your habits in your apartment. I'm really sorry, but he sounds absolutely awful. Even if he has other good qualities, he sounds incredibly rude, critical, and borderline controlling. Plus I find your tomato paste background relatable and endearing. I would like to eat tomato paste sandwiches with you and friends, even though I've never tried it, but it sounds cool. I guess he is a bad decision for a relationship. And TBH, after the women aren't feminine if they eat savory things statement, I doubt your boyfriend is as great as you perceive him to be. Wish you the best, my tomato paste friend. Also, I grew up upper middle class in the southern US. If I have good ripe juicy fresh tomatoes, I will eat a tomato and mayonnaise sandwich on squishy white bread just as easily as I'd eat sushi or steak. It's damn good. In Spain they have pan de tomate, which toasted French breech with garlic and crushed fresh tomatoes. Italians eat bruschetta. Tomatoes on bread are heaven. But your BF is a controlling jerk. He never would have gotten to the sandwich with me. Once he started criticizing by toothbrush cup or getting the mail in my pajamas or not wearing socks in slippers, I would have said, excuse me, this is my home. If you don't like it, then you can go elsewhere. When I was pregnant I ate a tomato and mayo sandwich or tomato cucumber and cream cheese sandwich nearly every day. I also make my own ranchero sauce in bulk for Hugo's Rancheros. I'll just have a day where I cut and roast tomato, jalapeno, onion, and garlic and blend it all up, That's essentially a spicy tomato paste by the time I'm done, and I'll eat it on toast when I'm in a rush and forgot to eat. So yummy. Borderline. No. He's just not shown all his cards yet. Enough though. Up had changed a lot of things she does because this guy gets angry. Not saying I haven't gotten angry at things a partner had done, but I try not to yell at people, and if I can't manage that I apologize and try and do better in the future. Jesus. It's not normal to yell at people. The only little habit my BF does that has pushed me to anger was that he forgets to clear the time on the microwave. There was one point where I was really tired but wanted to heat up my herbal tea to finish it. I pushed the add 30 seconds button, which is also start. It only had 1 second on it, so screeched at me, walking me up fully. Even then I didn't yell, though I told him that was an A move. Now he clears it most of the time, and when he misses I just mention it gently because I don't want to nag or yell. I'm not his mother trying to get him to clean his room or something. That to say, there is always something any partner will do that's irritating, but you don't have to yell or look down on them for it. Unless it's something dangerous, then I get it, but something like eating food in a way you don't like shouldn't be a big deal, and if it is, just find someone not compatible. Please take this comment seriously. None of your habits were inappropriate or worthy of him commenting on, but you always bent to his will. The second you haven't, he is lashing out. When people show you who they are, believe them. This is very concerning, controlling behavior. What you chose to eat is none of his concern. If you allow this to continue, it will continue to escalate. It already has. The more things you are willing to change to appease him, the more changes he will ask for. Often this behavior escalates into more sinister types of abuse as well. I speak from past experience. Before you know it, you're a shell of who you were with no sense of identity, and if you're smart you'll leave before you get there. Next story 2. Thinking about divorcing my wife. Giving it 24h before decision. Give me your honest opinion. Me and my wife just had an argument and I'm considering divorce. I'm giving it 24h to think it through. I would love your opinion, as I may not be right about thinking the way I'm thinking. I divorced my first kid's mom about 5 years ago. My first kid is 15 years old. He's with us every other week, 50% of the time. About 4 years ago I met my wife and we have a cute little 2 years old. Me and my wife really get along. We have a lot of plans for the future and we are each other's best friend, no doubt. I love her and I'm pretty sure she loves me back. When we first met I was just getting out of my divorce. We started dating and soon decided to buy a house together. She invested twice the money I had. It was a big leap of faith on her end, as we are 50/50 owners of the house. Our salary back then was almost the same. 1 year ago I got a really good job and right now 3/4 of our combined income comes from me. She now has 2 times the money I owed her from the house investment, in an investment account that only allows for one person to be the owner of the account. I decided that she could be the owner of that account as a thank you for trusting me with the house investment. We live in an European country, by the way. From day one, my wife was always very respectful towards my oldest son, but she was never close to him in terms of physical contact. She never hugs him or shows any other type of affection. He isn't a very affectionate kid either. Since my youngest was born, some arguments between us started happening. Always related to her stepson. First it was because if something happened to me, death, she would have to deal with my ex-wife because her stepson would be entitled to 8% of ownership of the house. Then it was little things like cleaning, issues with my ex-wife, things he says, his relationship with his brother, as my oldest doesn't enjoy playing or spending time with his brother, age gap I would argue. I'm very protective of my oldest son as he has been through a lot with the divorce. When he's here I like him to feel welcomed, but I'm starting to feel like he is not. When we schedule weekends out, she always suggests we go in weeks my oldest son is not with us. When we decide to go out to dinner is always, or most of the times, in weeks my oldest is not with us. So, today's argument. Our combined income is 4.5 thousand euros. 3/4 of this money comes from my salary. I have always treated it as our money. We save 2.3 thousand euros each month. We haven't decided about paying the remaining money we owe the bank, or if we should keep it or even buy a second house as an investment. Today, we have the possibility of putting aside even more money or applying it to some changes to the house that we've discussed before, around 1,000 euros perhaps. I never had the opportunity to save money for my oldest son. Now I do. I suggested we should start wiring money to the kids' saving accounts every month. My suggestion was €100/month to each kid. Reaction. Deep breath, almost angry face. We should think about making the changes to our house that we've discussed before. I argued that we had enough money to save for the kids and apply the changes to the house, which is a correct assessment of our monthly budget. In the end she said do what you want, but in a way she clearly demonstrated she did not agree with what I suggested. We were just getting home after a long weekend out. We spent about an hour unpacking. We sat on the couch and I said okay, I'm going to set a recurring wire transfer to their accounts. She asked why should we set money aside for our kids. I argued that it was a nice thing to do for our kids. I also said my parents never had the chance to help me and I wanted to help my kids. I also argued that her parents did the same for her. She said they didn't put much aside for her. She added that we can decide on helping them when time comes and that most of the money she had on her savings account was thanks to her saving up her entire life. She said she didn't agree that we should put the same amount for the kids. Oldest son has a mother that can put money aside for him. It's not fair that we put the same amount for each kid. For context, my ex-wife income is enough to make it till the end of the month, and my wife knows this. She never saved money for herself or our kid. And she never will. My oldest son came home for the week soon after this argument. I had the chance to say the real problem is that you don't look at oldest son the same way you look at our son. And this is what I feel. He's a rock in her shoe. I feel like I'll have financial arguments with her, in the future, over decisions we'll have to make about investing in his education, for example. Or even helping him in any financial way he may need. Please note that I haven't and I will not educate him to expect me to help him out financially every time he needs money for something. Comment. I think you two sound like you have a healthy marriage, with a few problems. I think you should work on the problems, most marriages have them, and stop thinking about divorce. Perhaps a marriage counselor could be consulted if you really can't resolve this between the two of you. But it seems a scanty reason for divorce. Good luck. It seems a little premature to jump to divorce over this if it's the only significant issue between you. I'm sure you're correct that she doesn't see your stepson the same as her own, but she doesn't have to. What you're proposing financially seems equitable, and from your standpoint you shouldn't show favoritism to either of your sons. Do you really want to have to co-parent with two different exes over a relatively minor financial disagreement, and fears about future disagreements that may never happen? If you think it's needed, get some counseling together, but don't blow up your marriage over this. That's why I think some counseling may be helpful for the two of you. Disagreements are inevitable, you've been married long enough to know that all too well, I'm sure. You do need to be able to work through them together in a constructive manner though, and counseling may help you to devise strategies to do so. One thing you may want to point out to your wife, you'll be putting aside that money for your younger son for many more years than you will for the older one since he's 13 years older than his brother. That may help her to see that it's more fair than it appears to her on the surface. Good luck and best wishes to you, Op. You're a fantastic dad for thinking about and planning for your children's future. Perhaps she doesn't agree with how you parent and is trying to make sure she limits the time she spends out and about with your older son. Not in a mean way, but in a save her sanity / prevent other arguments way. Check out Nacho. Is it possible this is what she's trying to do? I highly suggest joining the academy together. It could help clear up a lot of things while still allowing you the freedom to support both your children as you see fit. As far as her not treating your child the way she does your child together, it's miles apart different. I say that as a stepmom and bio mom myself. I was a stepmom for 7 years before we had our kiddo, and I never, not even close, felt the way I feel about my stepdaughter as I do our son. It's not fair for you to place that expectation on your wife. Also, why did you feel like you had to make a decision on this today? You were getting back from a long weekend and had this argument. You clearly understood that you had not reached an agreement, and you decided the moment you both sat down to announce you were making the transfers. That makes no sense and was a very immature way to handle it. You should revisit this at a moment when you both are calm and rested and can really talk it through. The reason why you're considering divorce prematurely is that you see a pattern in her behavior that you're worried will get worse over time. This may be valid, or it may just be that you're trying to preemptively stop/end something because of your PTSD from your first marriage. More often than not, you're trying to auto-correct an issue that you should have corrected in a previous relationship. I don't know if you got a chance to heal from your first marriage before you started dating your current wife. Try counseling, as others have suggested? Your 15-year-old is not the issue. It's the fact that she wants to pretend that he doesn't matter as equally as the 2-year-old. The problem is, Op is sharing finances with his new wife. Op is taking money from their shared finances to contribute all the savings for his oldest son. A son who is not related to her. I can totally see her point of view here. Essentially, Op is telling his wife, you have no say in how this money is allocated. I have 2 biological kids, I'm splitting it 50/50ths, and I refuse to give your child 1 penny more. Replace penny for whatever the smallest unit of currency is in your country, smiley face. And he wants to divorce this woman because she's not happy about having this arrangement decided for her.